There is a saying. It's a law. It's a Jewish law. It's called pikuach nefesh. Pikuach nefesh means you do anything and any consequence to save your life.
Mm.
And because Judaism values life so much, it comes above all else.
And welcome to the Family Business with the Alessis. My name is Stephanie Muina, and I'm honored to be running this podcast today. It is a beautiful day because we have two wonderful guests with us. We have Hilla and Arik Nehamkin with us. You guys can just say hi.
Hi everybody.
This is their first time doing a podcast, and this is actually my first time, I think, ever hosting a podcast with guests.
Okay.
I want to thank my dad, Pastor Steve, for allowing me to do this. It is a really fun topic that we're touching on today. It's a topic that is near to my heart because I have a little bit of history in this topic. I've been learning about it. I've been reading about it. And we are privileged with a friendship with Arik through some friends of ours. Gil Nehamkin, you are his son. You guys work physically close to us, next to our building. And you have a lot of experience in this. But today, we're talking about Israel. And Arik was over in Israel. I want you to definitely give your background, but we're going to dive into this topic. We're going to talk on the tenacity of the Israeli people and hear your stories and hear about your knowledge on all of this. But just so you know, we are pro-Israel, the people of Israel, the heart of Israel. We don't know all the facts, but we know that Israel has seen so much. Our Messiah, Jesus, came and lived in that region. And I always like to say, I'm attached to the nation of Israel, not because of what has happened there, but also because of what is happening there. I went back in 2019 for a trip with FIU. And after that trip, I have been obsessed. So that's what we're going to talk about today. It's a sensitive topic, but we want people to know that this is a very real thing that's happening right across the pond. And it's happening right now. Lots of stuff is happening currently, but we want to just inform our listeners about the heart of Israel. So go ahead and introduce yourselves, share a little bit of your background with Israel and what you currently do there now or how it's in your daily life now.
I think we should start by just saying thank you for having us.
Yeah, exactly. You want to start? It's kind of tough because we're two people, who...
It's okay.
But I'm going to go ladies first, you introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Hila. I was born and raised in the United States. My parents are Israeli, so I am first generation American. I grew up in South Carolina. I moved to South Florida when COVID hit. I actually got my master's at FIU.
Nice.
And I grew up with two really, really proud Israeli parents. So, we spoke Hebrew at home, and culturally and religiously, we grew up Jewish, and we spent every summer in Israel. We actually moved to Israel for 2 years, so
you did a little bit of middle school.
7th and 8th grade I spent in Israel.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have friends to this day that I went to school with from there. And I mean, I love Israel more than anything. It's an unexplainable type of love.
Yes.
And I think Arik's story is a little bit more interesting about Israel. So I'm going to hand it off to him.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm Arik Nehamkin. First of all, I also want to say thank you for, having us here and all that your church does for Israel.
It's so important to us to be here.
We know that you guys have also made very, very generous donations to keeping the safety of Israel, so that, we take that to heart. That's very important to us. And
we never take that for granted.
I'm not a podcast guy in general, but when I heard that you guys asked us to be on it, it was like 100%.
I was skeptical. I got a text from you, and I was like, he doesn't do this stuff. So I texted him and I was like, hey, like, I think this is really important. Like, will you do this with me? And he was like, of course, we have to do this.
Yeah.
Man.
And I was shocked.
I'm so glad.
I was like, okay.
I'm so glad.
So I actually grew up here until I was 12. Israeli parents, and then it was very important for us to grow up in Israel. So when my dad retired, we moved over there, and I moved over there in the 7th grade, and I did middle school, high school, the military there, and then college, and then I came back. It was also kind of like COVID. There was COVID.
We showed up to Miami at the same time, not knowing, obviously.
That's crazy.
COVID shut down Israel pretty much.
Yeah.
COVID was more like New York than Florida. So it was closed down.
tight.
So I was like,
Wow.
and I just finished my studies, and I said I had an opportunity to come here and work for 2 people that are part of your what's the word that you would
Your
Church.
Is it church or is it congregation though? Or
You could
is
say both.
both?
Congregation is very official.
Yeah. Okay. So
Church. You can say church.
church. So and I've been they were like they are a family to me. So
Yeah.
it was the whole backstory.
Oh,
But I'm not
yeah,
gonna get into that for the
It's
podcast.
weird because we have like they're family to you and they're family to me.
Correct.
And
correct.
we rarely cross paths.
This is
But
true.
we're all
like,
one big family, right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
They raised me. Like David
It
and
is-
Tony. Oh my gosh.
It's really funny that
Shout
it
out
is-
to
Yeah,
David
yeah.
and Tony.
Yeah.
Shout out to David and Martinez and Tony Burke. We love you guys.
But so I served in the military. I was a commando there, a combat soldier. And pretty much I was telling you this before, being an American, being an Israeli, culturally I'm both.
Yeah.
On the one hand, I know what good hummus is, and on the other hand, not this American stuff. On the other hand, the Super Bowl is like my favorite holiday, so it's
It really is. I have
It's a
to host
great
every
mix.
year because it's like a birthday to him.
That is a great mix.
Yeah.
That's a great cultural mix.
Actually, it's really funny. When I was younger, I manifested this man, okay? I said, please, God, send me a man that's like super country boy, loves to fish, loves to hunt, but like also speaks Hebrew. Like will come home and like tell me like I love you in Hebrew.
There's literally like
And-
5 guys.
Yeah.
And he
Yep,
delivered.
this is true.
Crazy.
This is
How
true.
did you guys meet? Because I also want to hear about that.
Okay, you want me to tell this story?
Yeah, you tell it.
Yes, you
Okay.
tell it because I heard about a little bit of it and I love the story.
So my mom and dad shipped me off to Miami pretty much to find a husband. If we're
love
being
it.
totally honest,
I love
okay?
it.
They were like, yeah, go get your master's degree, but like also like please go find a husband. All right, great. So I come down to Miami and we have a very large Jewish community in Miami, especially an Israeli community. I've noticed that when Israelis leave Israel, they love to come to Miami because it's very similar vibes, very similar culture. So they
yeah.
feel like Miami's like almost like an extension of Israel.
Yeah.
So, I was going out to all these like Jewish parties and Jewish events, and like we have so many holidays. And every holiday we have like event coordinators that like coordinate events specifically for us to like bring Jews together. It's really a beautiful thing. And I spent a year and a half going to these parties. I was like, all right, I'm going to meet my husband at one of these parties. Like it's for sure. And
Yeah,
I met him at a party.
Yeah, she met me.
Wow.
She
I
met
met
me
him
at a party.
at a
A
Purim party.
Purim's like the
It's
Israel,
the
Jewish
Jewish
Halloween.
Purim. Yeah.
Purim's
yeah,
the
yeah.
Jewish Halloween. So for
Yeah.
her, it was definitely. I'm gonna chime in here, but it was
Go for it.
love at first sight for her.
Oh my
okay?
God.
Okay, even
For
if I'm the
her.
one that says it.
Listen to me. We were cram-packed like sardines on this dance floor, and he walked by, and I looked at my friend, and I was like, "Who is that?"
That's hilarious.
I always say someone must have been dressed as like Cupid or something and like
shot me
got
with
her
a
in the
bow.
butt exactly while she was looking at me, or it doesn't,
It was
doesn't
love at
explain
first
it.
sight for me, and I was like, "All right, like I gotta go try and like have a conversation with this man."
That's amazing. Well, how were you guys dressed? What was the costume you were wearing? Because that's like
I was in an all black outfit with some kitty ears, and he literally was like dressed normally.
Yeah.
He had a tank top on that said Melech, and in Hebrew that means king.
I was like, I'm the king of the party, okay?
And I was like, this
That's
man.
The confidence was high, okay? It was
yeah.
Listen,
well,
he
it
didn't
was.
know he was gonna meet his wife that night.
didn't-
Okay,
That's
I didn't,
crazy.
but-
he was having a great time. He was there with a friend who,
yeah.
lives in Israel. Was actually at our wedding, and yeah, I had to work hard for this one. I asked him out. He said no.
That's great.
No, I didn't say no.
Well,
Well,
I didn't
you
say-
asked him out?
She asked me out. I said yes,
he made me
though.
work for it.
You're
No.
totally Israeli. You are an Israeli
He made me work
female.
for it. I spent like a month like trying to like figure out how I was gonna meet this man again and like go on a date with
But
him.
I was living in the Keys though at that time. I only had come up to Miami like to meet my buddy that was in town. So for me, it was like, okay, I live in the Keys. I met this girl. I'm not gonna,
Oh, he told me. He was like, this is never gonna work. I don't live here.
I don't
and
know.
I was like, oh, you wait.
I was gonna wait till I moved, up here.
That's
But
hilarious.
I said, just wait.
then I started making the drives until I actually moved up here. Once we started dating,
I said, just wait. Just wait.
But yeah, that's our little background.
we
So
were
that's
we
great.
were out the night before our first date, and we've touched on this off the podcast. Like we're both Jewish, but we come from like different religious backgrounds. Like
Yeah.
I grew up more religious, he grew up a little bit more secular. And we were having a conversation, I'll never forget it. Like I was telling him like the way I practice Judaism and the way you practice Judaism, it's a very day-to-day thing. Like I keep kosher and I celebrate Shabbat and like all these things, and he doesn't. And he looked at me and I swear in these words, he was like, this is never gonna work. And I said, why would you say something like that? And he was like, because like you do all these things and I don't practice this. And I was like, I don't see a problem. And he was
you
like,
guys
yeah.
fit
She was
so
right.
well,
She was
man.
right. No, today we make it work. I go a little bit to her side. She comes a little bit to my
We
side.
meet in
And
the
we meet in the
middle.
middle.
Yeah.
We meet in the middle. And it's
So then you guys you dated for how long?
for
We dated
almost 2
for-
years.
2 years.
Almost 2 years.
We dated
yeah.
for a year and 10 months before he proposed.
And I want to hear about that story. The story of how y'all proposed and the whole thing.
Well, the war broke out on October 7th.
Mm-hmm.
And we had been dating for about a year and a half at that point. And I'll never forget this day. Do you want me to talk about like
Yeah.
how that day kind of,
Yeah.
do you want me to like roll into that? 'Cause-
Sure. Yeah, you can.
So the morning, Israel and the United States are on a 7-hour time difference. So everything that happened the morning of October 7th was like the middle of the night for us.
Got it.
Because it started at 6:30.
So it was
Nobody knew what
11:30
really
at
was
night.
going on at 6:30. Like
Yeah.
people started to understand around like 8, which is
The middle of the night
1
for
a.m.
us.
here.
Yeah.
So
6:30 in the morning over in Israel.
over
Over
in
in
Israel. And
First 6:30 in the morning was the first rocket.
Yeah.
and then they called up everybody, like anybody who does reserves. They called them up. I have 2 younger brothers that live in Israel, and one of them called me at 3 in the morning.
Wait, can I tell the story?
Yeah, you can, but
Long story short, like I woke up at around like 7 in the morning our time
Yeah.
to like somebody blowing up my phone. And I was like, it's a Saturday morning. Like what's going on? And I see 2 texts. It was one from my best friend, hey, is your family okay?
Hmm.
And the second text was from my now father-in-law. He was like, turn on the TV. There was a terrorist attack in Israel.
Ugh.
Now, to anybody who doesn't know, like a terrorist attack in Israel is not something that like normally makes headlines, right? Like, unfortunately, it happens very frequently,
Yeah.
and it's an event where it's like, okay, it happened, and like it was dealt with, and it's been contained, and we move on.
Yeah.
To get a text from my father-in-law, who's
used to,
used to
All
these
of
types
that.
of things,
Yeah. Yeah.
to get a text like that, I woke up and I was like, Arik,
Yeah.
wake up. And he was like, what's going on? And I was like, I don't know. But like we turned on the TV and I'll never forget it.
Well, we couldn't tell at the beginning. When we turned on the TV, it was 40 people are dead, which is a lot of people.
It's
Yeah,
so
it's
many
crazy.
people.
And that would be considered a big terrorist attack. And I said, okay, there was a big terrorist attack.
Little
but
did we know
then
that number
it
was
was
gonna grow
actually
to
an invasion.
1,500.
Yeah.
Yeah, an invasion by Hamas and the Nova Party, where there were 3,000 people there, and 10% of the people there, didn't.
364 people were killed at the Nova Party.
Crazy.
Yeah. So they're literally going to like a party, in Miami, and these terrorists showed up.
Well, he got a call from his brother in the middle of the night, and
Yeah, I got a call at 3 in the morning from my brother because they called both of them up.
And your
to-
brothers were back in
They're in
Israel.
Israel, so they
Man.
everybody that's
by the time we called them, they were already on base.
They were already
yeah. So
uh,
when he called me at 3, I picked up the phone. I said, "Does he forget that there's a time difference?" And I hung up and I silenced
didn't-
and I
he didn't take the
remember
call.
and I silenced my
God.
phone.
He didn't take the call.
I didn't take the call, and which
I remember even that morning I was like, because we showed up to the office and they were talking about it. And I, like a fool, was like, guys, this sorry, but this happens often.
That's what
we
that's
said.
how I was at the beginning. And
That's what we
then
said.
the numbers started going up, and then the videos started coming out.
An hour later, it's 150 people.
Yeah.
2
The
hours later,
videos
it's
were
300
And I told
people.
her, this is really bad, Hila.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and this
yeah.
is something that never happened
He
before.
looked at me and he said, nothing like this has ever happened before.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, like coming from somebody who served in the military, and like we're talking about an elite special unit that specializes in counterterrorism. Like for him to say something like that,
that's wild.
I get goosebumps to this day, like thinking about that day.
Crazy.
And we were just like, kind of, it's very similar to 9/11, because I was born at the end of 94, so I wasn't even, I was 6 when 9/11 happened, and I kind of remember it.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people that are older than us, they remember exactly where they were when it happened. So this was like our 9/11, where you're also glued to the TV.
Yeah.
You know, watching, you know,
hoping it's not one of your friends or family that's over there.
Well, it was my friends and family.
Yeah.
My cousin was killed on October 7th. Yeah. Arik lost a really good friend on October 7th.
I had a really good friend, and you know, you wanted to speak about the resilience of the Israeli people. So I had a really good friend of mine who I served with, Ilan Moshe Yaakov, God avenge his soul, who was at the Nova Festival, and at the beginning the rockets started flying. That's something that happens. It doesn't happen on a day-to-day basis, but because we have the Iron Dome system, which you know shoots it in the air, for the most part, there's no casualties.
It intercepts
a great majority of them.
Yeah. You know,
it's
over
90%.
Crazy.
It saves lives. So like, the people that were at the Nova Festival were like, oh, that's, sorry for my language there. We'll have to beep that one. They saw the rockets, and it was a lot of rockets. Like it was just an insane amount.
It was hundreds of them.
Yeah. Which is rare. They usually shoot just a couple.
I remember those videos.
But they didn't think that, you know, Hamas terrorists were going to show up to the Nova Festival.
They thought it was just like a crazy but like, how do you say barricade?
Barricade?
No, not barricade, like a barge.
How
do you say a lot of rockets being, there's a word for
a barrage.
A barrage, that's the word.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the word in Hebrew. No, so it was like a huge barrage of rockets, and we're talking hundreds.
Yeah.
Like, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm actually not 100% sure, but like in Israel, when a rocket's fired, we hear a siren, and the siren's kind of like, and for every rocket, there's one siren. So that siren was blazing for God knows how long.
Because the rockets weren't stopping.
Because they wouldn't stop, and they count each one, right?
Wow.
So the Iron Dome is able to intercept, what is it, 95%, if not more.
Something like that.
When there's a larger barrage, that number decreases, right? Because like there's only so many that you can shoot down.
Yeah.
There's only so many. So like these people are out in an open field. There's nowhere really there are no bomb shelters out in the middle of the desert.
But there
are a few, but
what I wanted to say about my good friend is one of the things that he did, and just showing the resilience of him, but that's how a lot of Israeli people are. He takes out his phone, okay? He posts on social media.
Flying.
You see the rockets behind him, and he says, you know, he's like talking to, and there's no terrorists there. Like he doesn't know what's gonna happen. Okay.
This is just like right when it started.
Yeah.
Like the very first.
And he speaks to the camera and he says, Israel, I love this country so much. Even though we have all these rockets and life is not always easy here, this is the only place we need to be. And I love this. I love this country. This is our home. And we're always going to protect our home. And that was his last social media post.
That was his last post.
That was the last thing that he posted on social media.
Did he kind of know?
No,
he didn't
nobody
know.
knew.
He didn't know what was going to happen.
Like, as these rockets were flying, Hamas was like trying to cross the border. So there were no Hamas terrorists in Israel yet when
he does the video.
And it's like, and now like, you know, this is kind of where we differ in opinion. Like, for me, like, for you to pull out your phone and say that when, like, you don't know your life is about to end, like, how do you explain that?
She thinks that was
that was God.
Yeah.
Okay. To me, that was God.
So that's where I want to ask you how, because you guys were planning marriage at this time. You were planning engagement.
We weren't engaged yet.
You weren't even engaged.
We were not engaged yet.
Well, so the war broke out. We'll get to the engagement story. So like the war broke out. He looks at me now. Mind you, the first like 48 hours, we were glued to the TV.
Yeah.
Saturday morning, Sunday all day. Monday, I like wanted to puke at the idea of going to work.
Yeah.
I was like, there's no way.
Yeah. My two brothers got called up, so they're now
Crazy.
in the military.
My whole family's in the military at this
Yeah.
point.
My unit, the guys that I served with, also got called up.
He looks at me on Sunday night and he goes, Hila, like, mentally prepare yourself. I'm going to go back.
Yeah, and your dad as well, right?
Yes. So
I was like, are you kidding me right now? Now, I would never, ever, 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 ever in a million years tell him, no, you're not going.
Yeah.
All my friends were like, yo, I wouldn't let my husband go. I said, I can't not let my husband
Yeah.
go. Like,
Yeah.
who am I to tell him don't go?
Yeah.
And you know what? If I had served in the military and I didn't because I was born and raised here, I would have gone in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So who am I to tell him not to go?
Yeah.
And he did. 2 weeks later, him and his
like for
parents
me,
were on a flight.
it was my country's under attack.
Yeah.
My team, my unit, all are enlisted, and I'm gonna be here. You know, my two brothers, my younger brothers, I'm the role model. Okay, and I'm gonna be here while they're over there,
Yeah.
fighting for our country. Like it just couldn't.
This was
I wouldn't be
a
able to
war
live
for
with
our
them.
existence.
So what?
And we in the first few days we understood that.
So how did you guys stay positive? Like you just pretty much answered the question, but how did you stay positive through all of that? Because you want to just get married. You guys want to get engaged. Your family's not here. Your family's fighting. How do you just stay hopeful in all of
of
that?
getting married didn't cross our minds when we were going through this.
Yeah.
Like he went to Israel and I'll let you tell your side of the story, but a few weeks later I came to Israel.
Mm-hmm.
I dropped everything and so did he to even just to be there.
Yeah.
There was so much more that you could give. The way I could literally never even put this into words, but the way that our country came together after October 7th was something that I knew we do,
Mm-hmm.
but to experience that
Yeah.
was for me a godly moment.
Wow.
It was a godly time
Yeah.
because all of a sudden there was no right wing, left wing. All of a sudden there was no conservative, not conservative. All of a sudden there we were all people fighting for
Our existence.
our existence.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's funny because somebody said to me, when the war broke out, there were there were multiple planes from all around the world picking up Israelis to bring them home.
Yeah.
It was, and these people
Picking
wanted
up
to come home.
Israelis from everywhere else to
From
go to
everywhere
Israel.
in the world. There were planes.
I remember this.
There were planes being chartered just to get Israelis home.
Usually
Wow.
people are trying to run away
People
from
are
a
usually
war
trying
zone.
to-
Here, people
They're
are
all
coming.
trying to
away.
get there.
Yeah.
People were begging to come home.
I love
They're like,
that.
I need to be on the next flight home. I
Yeah.
need to be on the next flight home. And
Just to
everybody,
be there.
no, the second they got there, they go home, they grab their uniform, and they're on base within an hour. No shower, no food. Anybody wanted to be there. Survivors of the Nova Festival.
Crazy.
They showed up with their cars, with bullet holes in their cars to base. They were like, yo, where do you need me?
Yeah.
I'm here.
That's the spirit that I really love about the Israeli people because they are
Yeah.
just, they don't know anything else except to fight back and to
Correct.
be strong. And it's like they don't even have a thought there that crosses their mind to give up or to give in. If there is a conflict, they are there to fight. And I think the rest of us, we question, we would never want to live in a country that's constantly in war with other countries.
I don't think we do either, but we have
We
to. We
prefer-
have no
we
choice.
prefer not to, but we
if
don't have a choice.
anything,
It's
you don't
the-
have a choice though. And
Yeah.
you guys, but you're not afraid of that because a lot of people run away from it. Like you
Yeah.
said, a lot of other countries, they run away.
Well, we know
They-
that nobody's going to fight our battles for us.
Yeah.
There's nobody coming to save us.
Yeah.
If we don't save ourselves, there's nobody that's going to be there to do it. So
We live in
we
a
do the hard
tough
work.
neighborhood.
Yeah.
Our neighbors aren't super friendly sometimes.
Yeah.
So
that's the biggest understatement.
Yeah.
of the-
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but we know how to protect ourselves. We know what we need to protect ourselves, and we're willing to protect ourselves too. We
Yeah.
don't want anybody to do it for us.
Yeah.
There is a saying. It's a law. It's a Jewish law. It's called pikuach nefesh. Pikuach nefesh means you do anything and any consequence to save your life.
Mm.
And because Judaism values life so much, it comes above all else,
Mm.
right? So, any religious value, any religious law, it gets swiped right under the rug when it's life or death.
Mm.
So I'll give you the perfect example. There are rabbis that in Florida, there are rabbis that drive ambulances, special ambulances on Shabbat when they're not supposed to, because an ambulance is a life or death situation. So any law, any value, life comes above all else.
Yeah.
And when you're raised on that value,
that's how you operate.
There is no option to like, hey, like, can we leave? I don't want to do this. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. There are very, very, very few people that like didn't go to base when they were called.
Yeah.
And I mean like singles.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to go. He wasn't even called.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
they
you
didn't
went.
call me.
He
and I went,
fought.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
literally argued with commanders to be like, I don't care.
I
I'm
wanna be
showing up
there.
to base.
It's so beautiful because like we have a Bible verse that says to be thankful even in your iniquities, because it builds character and which produces perseverance, which then produces hope. And it's such a good mindset to have that the fight that you have to face is actually good for you. It's actually something you need to be thankful for because it produces a fighting spirit in you. It
Yeah.
produces a spirit in you that says, I'm not afraid of the battle. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be the one. It is my responsibility to fight this battle and I will win this battle.
Yeah.
And it's something that even us Christians, it's such a good mindset to embrace because it allows you to walk through your life not afraid of the battle you face with your family and your marriage and with your kids,
Yeah.
that this is our battle to fight and we will fight it together and we are not backing down from this.
Yeah.
So something that I love about the Jewish people and Israelis too, it's in your culture. The commitment that you guys have to family and to overcoming any conflict for the sake of family staying together. Like you say, your best friend is your cousin. We love that. We are all about that. What do you guys think is the motivator for that? Is it a Jewish thing? Is it an Israeli thing?
It's both. I mean, I could tell you the Jewish aspect of that. And we actually talk about it a lot because it's something that we call shlom bayit. Shlom bayit is the peace in the home.
Mm.
And again, something very similar to like how life comes above all else. So does family in the home.
Mm.
So I can give a super quick example of like when we first started dating, I had expressed to my parents that I was a little bit concerned that we weren't on the same religious. We didn't have the same like super like religious like practices.
Practicing.
Yeah, like I was a more practicing than he was, and
it's more from. It was actually it's funny because I'm kind of not a foodie, but food is a very important thing in my life, and kosher makes it a lot more difficult than like she would know.
Kosher laws, yeah,
the kosher laws. So that's what I wasn't. That's the main. That was probably the main factor.
It was. So, anyways, I told my mom, I was like, I remember crying to her. I was like, I love this man so much, but like, what am I gonna do? I don't know, like if it's gonna be difficult raising kids when like I see things one way and he sees things the other. And she said, "Hila, do you hear yourself?" And I was like, "Why?" And she was like, what did Dad and I always teach you?" And I was like, "What? Remind me," because I forgot. And she was like, "The peace in the home comes before anything that God tells you." Okay, God tells you to keep kosher. Love that. But you know what he tells you to do before? Make sure your marriage works.
Yeah.
You fight for your marriage. So if you need to meet in the middle, and that means you doing a little less and him doing a little more, that's what you're going to do. And he said, don't you ever, 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 ever compromise. Oh, but like you want to practice it one way. If it causes conflict, you drop it immediately.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I did.
It's great because us Christians, we believe that if you just keep God at the center of your home, he will, because we have a topic of conversation in the church world that some people will replace the family. What is it? That they will sometimes put their children on the throne instead of God on the throne. They'll put their marriage on the throne and not God on the throne. And the truth is, when you leave God on the throne of your life, when he is your God, when you live to just please God, he's going to guide you back to your family.
For sure.
The first thing he'll tell you is prioritize your family, prioritize your children, prioritize your marriage, and prioritize your children. So it's a formidable like strategy. If you pursue the peace in the home that God is telling you to pursue, then he's going to guide you right back to your family.
Yeah.
There's no way for you to confuse that if you just live to please God. So I think that's beautiful.
True.
Yeah, I think also from one of the things since, I met my wife, she was more into the traditions of Judaism. And one of them is every Friday night, you have what's called Shabbat dinner. You're going into Shabbat. My family used to not really do that. I think more of from a standpoint that, we would always have meals together. And pretty much on Friday night, no matter what, you have a dinner together. You read the same verse from the Bible, okay? Thanking God for the food, thanking God for the wine, etc. And, that was really important for her to do, even though I would never, I've gone to a couple at my, friends that their family did that every Friday. But her wanting to bring that into the house, I said, well, that's a beautiful thing, because that ensures that her and I every Friday we're together, and then hopefully, God willing, we'll have a big family. My kids will always be next to the table on Friday, and we'll bless the food, we'll bless us being together.
I love
so
that.
That's where I'm coming from, why the Jewish people and the Israeli people are so family oriented, and why that they make it such a high priority is probably because of the things that we practice.
No, I have to tell you,
I love that.
There's and we were talking about this also before, like in Hebrew, like the word man and wife, the difference between the two words is one letter, and that letter is the letter of God. And the letter of God is actually in the word that is woman, isha, instead of ish. My mom always explained to me, she said, listen, it's your responsibility to bring God into the home. That's on you. Because essentially the wife builds the home, right? The wife raises the kids. The wife makes the meal. The wife does it in a traditional sense, right? Like we have evolved as a people, but at least in my home, it's still that way. Okay. And she said, listen, you're going to be doing these things, so it's your responsibility. Like what you do will set the tone for your house. And again, I grew up super religious. I walk blindly in God's faith. Like the worst thing can happen, and the worst thing did happen. Okay. And somehow I still believe in God. Yeah. There are so many days have gone by where it's so human to be like, why? Yeah. Why'd you do this? Yeah. Like, there's no way that, if you're the God of all good, and like, there's no way you would do something like this.
But you always tell me he's the God of all good, but also
and the God of all evil.
Bad, so.
Like he creates all of it. Yeah. There's a pray. I pray every morning. It's like it out of a siddur, like out of so it's the same prayer every morning.
Got you.
And it's thank you for waking me up. Thank you for everything that I have. And the beautiful thing, it's like thank you for all the good that you do. But then there's the very last paragraph is thank you for everything that you haven't given me. Thank you for everything that you do that challenges me. Thank you for all the times that I'm sad. Thank you for all the times that I'm upset, because you don't understand good until you understand bad, right? Like you can't appreciate good until you've experienced bad. Yeah. All the things that you do for me, they're either building me, they're teaching me, they're preparing me for something that I don't know that's coming, but I know you do. Yeah. And so as difficult as it is for me, really, truly, like, I'll never understand why we experienced what we experienced and why we continue to experience what we're experiencing. But the only thing that lets me sleep at night is like, I look up and I'm like, you have a plan, right? Like,
no, and
whether I ever figure out what that plan is, whether you ever try to tell me what that plan is, I gotta believe that you have a plan. So
Amen. And you guys are struggling with a war in your home country. You have Christians that are having to deal with an immigration policy right now that might interrupt their whole life here. We have people in our church battling cancer, like young, lively people with children struggling with cancer. We have people here whose husbands have died in overnight, just like that. And they have kids that they have to deal with. So the struggles are probably not the same, but our faith in God is very, very, very similar. And the prayer that you just said is very similar to the prayers that we pray. Like, Lord, I have to trust you no matter what I go through. And I'm thankful that you allow me to walk through these things to make me stronger and to bring me closer to you. And our religion, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term, we are very big on relationship. The motto of our church is relationship, relationship, relationship. Relationship with God first, relationship with each other, and then relationship with those outside of the church so that they can have a relationship with God. But the first one, relationship with God, it's made through a relationship with Jesus. And we talked about this off the podcast. We do not need to get into that right now.
Oh, it's okay.
But it's a relationship. It's a, why are you doing this to me? And I trust that you're doing this to me for a reason. And it gives space to us to question God, to wonder why he does this. But at the end of the day, knowing he is Lord of all. He gives and he takes away. He is everywhere all the time.
That's what we forget. He takes. You got to remember that he takes too, and that's okay.
Yeah, but it is what makes us resilient. And I love these conversations with Israelis specifically because you guys face this on a much grander scale, but it makes you some of the most resilient people I've ever met. And Jewish and Israeli, it is an honor to have these conversations with you guys. It's an honor to hear your stories. Before we go, I just want to ask you guys one more question.
Yeah.
What, in the theme of resiliency and tenacity and overcoming battles, what is it, one takeaway from all you saw, from all you guys saw? What's a takeaway us Christians can take from this conversation about the Israeli people?
My answer is going to be different than yours, so
I'll let you start then.
No, you
I
can
got to
start.
think about mine.
Oh. I mean, it sounds cliche, but the only way I'm able to get through really difficult times is to believe that God just knows. Like, again, like there are so many stories of other people in Israel that have experienced the worst of the worst. It's not even a joke, honestly. Like, I can't even say that we joke about this, but like, it's become so much more common in the last 16 months to bury your child than it is to bury your parent.
Mm.
And I've experienced that twice in my family.
Mm-hmm.
And my aunt, who was like Arik, okay, no religious ties, like just super cultural, lost her son. And she swears to me that the only thing that gets her out of bed every day is God.
Mm.
And you're talking to somebody who like would laugh when I told her like, hey, I'm gonna go like pray or do something. She would laugh at me. And that's okay, right? Unfortunately, like she had to go through something really rough to have her eyes opened.
Mm-hmm.
But she does miraculous things now. She actually became a doula. She said that the only way that she feels her son is by helping other women bring life into the world.
That's beautiful.
And hopefully she's going to be mine one day. But the tenacity, really, you don't know how much strength you have, both mentally, both emotionally, until you're like, like you surrender to the pain.
Yeah.
If you fight it, there are so many days where I've experienced so much pain and I've experienced so much just like, why, like, I don't understand. And then I'm like, Hila, like I was taught, my dad taught me, like, sometimes you don't deserve to know why.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Like, there is something above you. There is something so much greater than you. There's something so much stronger than you. He knows why.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So don't question. It's like, don't question your superior, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't question why things happen the way that they happen. Just believe that they happen for some sort of reason. The world keeps going. The world keeps, like, there are things that, like, okay, if X didn't happen, Y wouldn't happen. Or
mm-hmm.
you don't
Yeah.
know, like, what the catalyst that creates something so much greater. Like,
even for the generations before us, like the struggles that we go through today, you never know how it could affect your children, your grandchildren.
Listen, I don't know what, October 7th and the way that I see it now, like looking back 16 months, like to me, the only thing that would make sense is that this whole thing will hopefully, God willing, make a beautiful, peaceful, and prosperous Middle East. Something that we've never seen, something that our ancestors have never seen. There's never been peace in that region. Like maybe something so catastrophic had to happen
to save many more lives.
To change the world. Like I don't want my sons to have to join the military. I don't want my sons to have to experience what we experienced, but they might. You just never know. I hope that not only did we experience and have to go through this, but like I hope that we as a people also like learned how to fix it, how to change it.
And we pray for the peace of Jerusalem every day. And
Amen.
Amen to that.
You are.
For me, I think October 7th also, from a resilience and the way I look at things standpoint, is, we're all the time, and it's very human. Why don't I have this? My life could be better this way. Why, am I not making more money? Why am I this? Why am I that? Why don't I look a certain way? And you're always trying, you always want more. And sometimes you're not appreciative. Okay. Or for instance, you're sick or you're not appreciative of the things that you have.
Yeah.
And I think that October 7th for me, from that standpoint, I look at my life and, I look back, probably sometimes I'd be like, man, I wish this was like this and I wish this was like that. And then I see, there's people that are now hostages in Gaza, people that were having, their life was normal.
We know someone that's coming back on Saturday.
Yeah.
God willing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So, and he's been 500 days there, you got to put things into perspective. And I think we got, hit in the mouth hard and got, dropped to the ground. And it's funny because it's, Rocky says that, Rocky Balboa,
Yes.
It's not how hard, you fall down. It's, how you get back up.
Yeah.
And I'm a true believer in that, that at the end of the day, okay, things are bad and you can be bummed about the bad. That's fine and that's human. But you gotta, pick yourselves up by the bootstraps and, and fight it every day. And fight it every day and make your life better.
I love that. I told you guys before, I went to Israel back in 2019. We went back again, I think in 2022. I brought my husband and my baby with me. But in 2019, I went to that southern border, to Ashkelon, which is close to the border, right?
My family lives there. It's 5 kilometers from Gaza border.
Yeah, we saw the wall.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what stuck out to me the most was how much that little town looked like Miami to me. It reminded me of Miami. It was a normal little suburb, and I forgot that I was in the Middle East. It hit me that I was in a normal town with normal everyday people, yet they faced some serious stuff. And what it showed me was we are all capable of overcoming these crazy battles.
Yeah, you don't know what you're capable of until you're
facing
it.
And that this topic of Israel and Hamas, it is, even though it may seem very overwhelming and intimidating, it's really just a situation with normal everyday people that are having to fight for a country. And I hope that this encouraged the listener today. I hope it encouraged you today to see that these are, I know it's bad, but you think of Middle East, you think of like Arabs, you think of Dubai, and it's not. It's very different. It's not different. It's actually people just like us. And they overcome it, so you can overcome it too. And in some strange way, it makes us stronger. It makes us more resilient. It makes us more tenacious, which makes us more hopeful for the future. And I just thank you guys so much for sharing your stories. Thanks you for I know that it's very near to your heart and it is very emotional, but I really thank you for opening up to us and sharing these stories with us. And this was a wonderful podcast. I really appreciate you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you guys for having us.
Really.
And thank you for all the support that you guys have given us. And it doesn't go
that makes us stronger.
Yeah.
You have no idea how
that makes us a lot stronger.
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Well, we do. We love you guys. We are in love with the people of Israel. I'm in love with the people of Israel. I don't know what it is, but I love that place. Well, I hope that this blessed you. I hope that you took something away from this and that this encouraged you. Go ahead and follow us, subscribe, follow us on our socials, subscribe to our YouTube page, subscribe to our podcast. And this was The Family Business with the Alessis. We hope you enjoyed today. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this video, and click on the notifications bell so you can be notified for all of our future videos. And if you loved today's topic, we have plenty more. And you can click on this link right here to watch all of our videos so you can learn why family is everybody's business.